Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, good evening.
Hi, everyone.
Just to tell you, we are okay, but it's okay not to be okay.
Such a good introduction for today. There are times when we're okay, and there are times that we are definitely
Exactly,
not okay.
exactly. And so, if you can be so kind, because we are broadcasting again on YouTube and LinkedIn, if you can put in the comment line that you can hear us and you can see us, that would be great. Okay, because good evening from Finland. Wim Hof is the answer.
Wim Hof is the answer to everything, right?
For a lot of things. Absolutely. Yeah. Miko, absolutely true. I'll just check the LinkedIn on my phone if that
Yes, and
works.
since we're having a mental health check-in and an it's okay to not be okay, I can also admit to people I'm tired tonight. We know we broadcast at 8 p.m., right? So we've had this full week going up to Thursdays. I'm usually quite tired during these
Yeah.
sessions, and everyone tells me, you're so full of energy. And I'm like, if only you knew what was happening on the inside. That's what today is all about, right? All the stuff that's going on in the
Fantastic.
background, in the inside of our brains. And
Yeah.
then how do we actually bring that out? How do we share that with each other so that we know it's normal?
Guys, I can see people on LinkedIn. So if you can put on in the comments that you can hear us and see us, I can see that,
Yeah, and Michal wrote, both are working. There's no time to lose. Let's go.
all right. Okay, let's go. Let's go. So you may do the intro and then we will start,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and it's so important more than ever, at least now through COVID. And on the back end, people have been having the discussion. It's okay to not be okay. Mental health is important. And yet, sometimes we get really conflicting signals because we say, but you have to be tough at work. Oh, let's talk about over resilience. Let's talk about mental strength so that you are okay again. Let's go for toxic positivity like any American would do, right? And we want to really just take the time and space here to say and explore it's okay to not be okay. Where are we with mental health? Where are other people? What are our experiences? Jan has obviously a very moving experience around it. And we just want to have this community conversation how to accept not being okay, how to work with not being okay, not trying to hide it, not trying to necessarily fight it, not being over resilient, working with it and learning from it. Jan, I think you're a much better spokesperson for this than I could ever be. I
Okay.
mean,
Yeah. So I as much as the mental health is concerned, I learned a lot during the time when I was performing very well. In fact, my team was 4 times in the row best performing team in Microsoft from all regions. But then I've got a deep depression 10 years ago, and I recovered, but it took full 6 months. Like I was half of the year out of my job. I'll talk about it, later, like what happened. But I have a real experience, and what I need to say now, I see, especially after the COVID, there is a lot of companies and a lot of individuals having a problem like returning back after the COVID because they were like cut out of the teams and out of the buildings and everything. So there's a lot of people with the burnouts actually, right? And
yes.
like I don't have a number for the whole Europe, but I know the numbers for my country. Depression during the COVID, increased 300%. It's a huge jump in, and I think it's more or less the same, everywhere, right? And
I'm
and
sure.
and the issue I see is really, I mean, in general, I'm technologist by profession. We have technologies of the 21st century and the pressure of the 21st century, but we still have a brain from like many thousand years ago, and we don't know enough about our brain. If that self-awareness, how brain works, how emotion work, I think people would be much better off. But we are still teaching people what is around them. You see, I have a nice t-shirt. Be nice, train nice,
I like that one.
this is it. Yeah. Anyway, let's go back to the mental health. And that's the real issue. We teach people what is around them. People are really skilled in everything. Well, we don't teach people what is inside them and how to work. We teach people how to have physical rest, how to, sleep, have a physical rest, and so on. We don't teach how to have a mental rest. And mental rest is not like, hey, I go for the running, but during the run, I call, everybody and I do one-on-ones, whatever. I was coaching some executive recently. I said, look, I'm using really, even if I'm in the forest, I still do the calls. And I said, that's not good. You may, run it for some time, but then you will be exhausted. You
Yeah.
should understand. People really understand that the physical energy is finite and you need to have a rest, but your mental energy is also finite. Your ability to be tough, to make decisions, goes down in the afternoon. In fact, your ability to make good decision goes down. This is it, right? That's why we need to have a rest. And the other issue is, while in the past the rest was pretty much acute, like our predecessor, they were like hunting, having a rest, hunting, having a rest, right? Today, we are like hunting all the time. We don't have any rest, and then there is a burnout or even depression. So, and the pressure is tremendous. Your brain, I think I said it last time, your brain in 1 week needs to process as much as information as in 1 week as our predecessor 100 years ago for the whole life. Right? And our ability to handle stress is more or less the same. Okay, and that's one point. The other point is that mainly today stress is driven by something they call in psychology FOPO. We talked about that last time, right? About FOPO.
Exactly.
Means fear of other people opinion because in the past when people were living in the group and they were like hunters and gatherers, if somebody made some mistake, he or she was pushed out of the group. That meant death, right? This is it. And that's what is in our subconsciousness. We think we are afraid of the refusal. That's why we are like demonizing mistakes, and people are learning the best from the mistakes, right? So we are demonizing mistakes, and we are nervous, and this is the real issue, right? We don't have enough rest. We don't understand how brain works, and we still demonizing, mistakes. Even in the companies, like, there's a lot of companies, they do a lot of like post-mortem, but only like, hey, where we fuck up, not necessarily what we've done, well. And it's good to do like, hey, we learn from our mistakes, but if you think about this, what I will say, if everybody talks about we need to build learning environment, right? Shell did this study and they figured out that the only long-term competitive advantage for all organization is your ability to learn fast. Okay, and
Right.
human beings, as much as the organizations, are learning fastest through their own mistakes. This is it, right? That's what we know from the neuroscience. We are still punishing big time, mistakes. You should not, do the same mistake twice. That's for sure. But if you do new mistake, if you try something new, mistakes are quite, normal, right? And because of such society, and it starts in the school. Kids are rated, and I have
Yes.
nothing against, like, if that feedback is written, that's perfect. And if it goes like, hey, this is, you are good in this, you need to improve that, stuff like that, that's the real feedback. Okay, but if it's like in my country, kids are getting like one is the best and five is the worst. Five is fail, basically, right? But if
Yeah.
you're getting like, I can't imagine if I'm the coach of the Czech national football team, and I would say, okay, goalkeeper, one minus, the just like three, and the defense was like four, right? How can we play next time better? There's no way, and we still do it with the kids, right? And I think that's another issue why we are like scared that what our basic of the refusal, right? And this is those are like, couple of issues I think we have, and that's why. And last but not least, I now obviously the mental health is really like getting priority for many organizations, which is good. That's
Yes.
good, right? On the other hand, I mean, it is good to do like seminar with Jan, who was in the mental hospital, right? Everybody is like asking, do this seminar for us. That's fine. But let's even better to create an environment where people can really like have a meditation, have a good
Yes.
rest, and really, follow up with them. And let's create environment where is this really learning culture. We learn from our mistakes, but it starts with the leadership, right? I, as
Yes.
a leader, I was like able when I was 32 years old. I realized, hey, when I will admit my own mistakes, the other people will open and we will talk openly about our
That's
mistakes and
it.
we will move on. And that's why we were successful. Absolutely. So this is kind of the
Yes.
intro.
I mean, this is a perfect intro. There are so many key points that we need to talk about. I want to make the distinction also because mental health has become really a topic for everybody. So, whereas in the past we thought of mental health as someone who had like a mental illness, who had a diagnosable something or other, and we thought, oh, but that's not me. And actually, so many people have finally figured out, oh my God, I never knew I had anxiety. I just thought that was the normal way to react.
Yeah.
Because now we're talking about it and people have much more awareness. Everybody is affected on mental health. This is not a topic that is for, those people over there, but not for me. It's for everybody. And from my perspective, when I'm working with, so, Jan and I work with ultra top performers. He's a lot of times with athletes. I work a lot with business executives. And we talk about how do we get to that next level of performance? Well, for me, the next level of peak performance, it's not learning a new skill. You already know how to do that. It's not, finding out the right business market to get into. You're smart enough. You know how to do that. The key is that mental game. That's the make or break difference between
Absolutely.
the people who can be the next Elon Musk or Bill Gates or the next Jan. Uh, it's the mental game that makes the difference for them. And for me, there's one piece of the mental game that is so important that almost nobody does and almost nobody knows about. So for me, if you want to really help with your mental game and your mental health, you have to start working with your emotions. So most of us try to mental strength our way over emotions, right? We say, okay, I don't want to feel emotions. I'm not scared. No, just do it. I'll keep going. We got this. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to cry. I got this. Doesn't work. It's exhausting for the body. This is where burnout comes from because you've done too much resilience for too long without listening. Hey, I need a rest. Once you can work with your emotions, by the way, the reason most people have anxiety, and then because they have so much anxiety, then you physically can't handle it. So you drop into a depression and you have a cycle of anxiety and depression, is because people often run from their negative emotions. And the most common one in the world today is uncertainty. So if there's uncertainty in the world and I don't know what to do, I'm in a state of stress and I try to control it. And if you can learn how to handle uncertainty, to be okay with it. Wow, I'm noticing that I'm feeling uncertain. And you can be in that moment. You won't have so much of the adrenaline, so much of the cortisol, so much of the stress, and you won't have the subsequent crash. So part of the key of being able to manage the waves of what's physically causing you, and then, by the way, physical and emotional go hand in hand, is to start to say, how can I be in touch with my emotions? Notice when I'm feeling, okay, I'm uncertain. Okay, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Okay, I'm feeling scared. My reputation, fear of other people's opinions. I'm feeling scared because people are going to think I'm stupid. How do I be okay with that? How do I come into a place where I can just sit with that emotion instead of letting it and I have to run from it? If you do that alone and nothing else, you will cure at least half of the mental health problems that most people in the modern workplace face. So, Jan, what's going through your mind? I think you're taking notes as I'm talking.
Yeah. I will follow what you said. Let's talk now because Lisa opened a very important topic, emotions. Okay, let's talk a little bit, guys, how emotions are created. Okay, a lot of people think that somehow, hey, there are like 6 or 10 emotions and this is it. Okay. There is a great, thought leader in that area, Lisa Feldman, and the other lady, emotion variability. It's
Emotional agility is Susan David.
And Lisa talks about variability. Susan
Yeah.
talks about agility, but
Yeah.
more or less, it's very similar. But what they are talking about that emotions are created basically. Now the question is how emotions are created. Obviously, emotions are created through our mind, through our thoughts. Because there's a thought, and the emotion is basically when your thought is touching your body. Okay,
Yeah.
if you have a positive emotion, you feel like positive energy and you feel good because your brain works like chemical factory. It is all about, hormones. Okay. Because if you feel like good, I mean, if you do something you really love, endorphin are released and you can do it forever, right? Because it's like killing the pain. Endorphin is 100 times, stronger than morphium, stuff like that. So it is good, but but it's still good to follow where your emotion is starting. Okay, but to figure out where your emotion is starting, you need to make sure. You should not say, for example, if we have on the other hand negative emotion and we can say, hey, I'm fearful. If you say I'm fearful, that means that your amygdala will go and you are fearful already. Yeah, you feel it.
Yeah.
Okay. If
Yeah.
you will say I observe my fear, that means that your neocortex is observing your amygdala, your monkey, that there is something happening. Hey, I'm fearful because there's certainty or whatever. It is dangerous. And then you can obviously ask, when did this where this thought started, right? Because
Mhm.
your thoughts are not facts. Those are just thoughts. Okay. We
Yes.
believe in thoughts, and I can tell you 99.9999% of the cases, those thoughts can be absolutely irrelevant, right? Absolutely irrelevant. It's not a fact, right? It is absolutely irrelevant, but it's still, unless when you will like give up to your thought, you will say, okay, it is dangerous, whatever, amygdala, do something with it, which means like fight, flee, or freeze. That's stress is born, and you are not using your full capacity, whether it's physical capacity or your mental capacity. If you will observe your mind and you will train like that, and then you can really make a huge progress. That's why we are saying it is okay not to be okay. It's absolutely fine to have negative emotions, right? but
Exactly.
but you can have negative emotion for the half of the day or like for 5 minutes, right? Look, Nadal is playing now. No, but Nadal is in fact in Rome playing just right with Shapovalov. Imagine the Shapovalov would go like 2 games like crazy, okay? But Nadal knows it's not gonna to go for the whole match, right? So he will do his best. He'll concentrate, as you said, be in the present moment, concentrate on each and every ball in each and every moment, and this is it. This is what is the best. And then you will not have this up and downs, but it will be like that. You will like smooth your way. But really, if you will do what Lisa said with your breathing, combine it with the like, hey, I observe my mind. And we Buddha was saying that in order to be in the present moment, because only in present moment you can observe reality. Okay, if you observe reality, you see that everything is changing. If you see everything is changing, you are not attached to the things. That's why you can move on, and you are not like suffering from the past, right? I mean, Buddha wanted to basically cut suffering, but not from around, but from himself. That was it, right? and
That's it.
and for your ability to be in the present moment, you need to manage your mind, basically to control your mind. And to control your mind, that means first you need to observe your mind, figure out what is happening in your brain. And yeah, and this is it. This is easy tool. And when you will start to follow your mind, you will less and less believe your thoughts. Those are just thoughts. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing bad with the thoughts, right? But Lisa can tell me, this is Jan, this is terrible t-shirt. You should never, wear it. And it's, yeah, that's opinion. Fine. I
I
have
like
another opinion, whatever, right? Just the thought. That's so it's your thought. Number
yeah.
two, we automatically think that, like, for example, if I would be like 30 years, younger, I was thinking that Lisa and everybody else thinks in the same way like me, which is bullshit. Everybody
No.
perception of the reality. And then if the reality is different for everybody, does reality exist? Right? I mean, it's different for everybody, right?
Yes.
And when you will start to think like that, you will cool down your amygdala, because your amygdala, exactly what Lisa said, your amygdala works if it's uncertain, if it's dangerous, or if it's chaotic, or very new for you, right? And today we are living in the age of uncertainty, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
And you
Oh,
need to make a lot of decisions like that, and your brain is not ready for those decisions, right? And in the past, our predecessors, we have still the same brain. Our predecessors probably decided like 3 times, 4 times a day for something. Now you decide probably 10 times in 1 hour. And if you have bigger responsibility, it's even more. And again, if you are making some decisions, your mental power for those decisions are getting down during the day. So you are
yes.
not making super great decisions in the evening, right? Don't do any like live decisions in the evening when you are exhausted. That the one good the
It's
one
good.
thing the one, the one thing, when I was in the mental hospital, my professor, who is my friend Cyril Heschel, he told me a couple of times, Jan, now you should not do any big investments. Don't do any big while being in the mental hospital. So
Probably good advice, yeah.
it's a good advice, absolutely.
Well, and here's something. So you and I often talk about this like physical, mental, emotional, spiritual connection because we both know how important the physical is.
Hmm,
For someone who's listening now, maybe there's even something more that you've never thought about in terms of mental health, which is to say, we know from the research that mental health is also affected by when you feel a loss of autonomy, a loss of freedom.
exactly.
So I'm the American. I'm always going to talk about freedom, right? And so when you feel there's too much happening to me, work is happening to me, I don't have control, I don't make plans, I don't make my day, I'm stuck in my life, in my job, in my whatever, I'm the victim, is when mental health starts to decline. So the big question you need to start asking yourself is, where are the areas where you're feeling like it's happening to you instead of you can create or make something happen?
Right.
Because this is where you have a loss of autonomy, a loss of your freedom, your ability to make your own decisions.
Exactly.
If you feel that, let's talk about how you can design your life to change it. Because what often happens is people feel stuck and then they go into a spiral of stuckness. And then they tell themselves the story. As Jan said, we make up our reality and we believe that that's truth. But it's not truth. You have this freedom to
Exactly.
design. So, for example, after 2 years in COVID, and I was in Switzerland. So I love Switzerland. Um, but it's very small for me, right? I grew up outside of New York City. Switzerland's very small. 2 years, no traveling here. And I said, I can't do it. So I designed my life. I listened to that. I feel stuck. I feel I haven't had enough creative input. I didn't run away from the feelings and say, no, no, Switzerland's perfect and Switzerland's great. And oh, look at how grateful I am that Switzerland has nice mountains. All true. And I'm still feeling restless. So I listen to that emotion. I say, okay, how do I design to get past that? Not that I feel that I'm stuck. Things are happening to me, which so often is what we felt in COVID, right? We had no control over this disease that was spreading. We just had to stay home and be uncertain. How do you take back control? How do you create a life or lifestyle, a job, whatever it is, where you feel excited and energized about again? And don't let things happen to you, but you be the creator. And by the way, Viktor Frankl said this so nicely, because it doesn't actually matter. Some of you might be thinking, yeah, but Lisa, if you knew my circumstances, you would understand why I can't move. No, Viktor Frankl was in a concentration camp, and even he said the last of the human freedoms is to choose where you put your mind, where you find purpose. So no matter what is happening around you, you still have freedom. Reconnect with that, find that within yourself, and that will be like a mental health blockade. Good things will come when you can be in that opportunity space and have your freedom of choice.
Yeah. The what Lisa talk about this, like autonomy, and it's like happening to us very often. When we change the job, we are promoted, maybe we have some people responsibility, it's driven by micromanagement, because micromanagement is bad for your mental health, but you are not teaching new skills to your team, right? And usually people, I mean, typical, if there is like new executive, I'm like coaching those people, typically they would tell me, hey Jan, I'm so overwhelmed, there's so many things to do,
Yes.
I don't know, I mean, I don't have a time to do it. Well, as you said, it's happening to me, okay? And if
Yeah.
I'm, and then I'm like, okay, what do you do like with your time? Show me, like, what do you do during the day? And it's like, but this should be done by your people, but that person is telling me, hey, I can do it faster and I can do it better. That's maybe true, but if you
Yeah,
will do it for each and every person, you will not develop your organization, you are killing yourself. So you need to
exactly.
stop like to be micromanager. And again, we go back to the allowing your people to fail. Basically, this is it. You need to like allow yourself to fail, and you need to allow your people, because if they are learning new skills, if they will do new tasks, they will fail at some point. And that's Bill Gates was always telling me, Jan, if you don't know whether you should do it or not, just do it. You can always ask for forgiveness. And this is the right, way how to handle, new mistakes, obviously, right? But I think we really do. I mean, I was also micromanager, to be fair, when I started to be manager, right? But after some time, I realized this is bad for me, and it's even worse for the organization, because I'm not developing new leaders, right? And you need to like create succession plan, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And then everybody say it's too much to me. I mean, there's something you mentioned, Viktor Frankl. So it is freedom of choice. There are things happening to you, but it's up to you how you will react. You can, I mean, if you have
Yes.
a lot of things to do and you have your team, let's delegate, let's train them, let's develop organizations so that you have a more time for strategic thinking, visionary stuff, and so on. Otherwise, it's not gonna to happen, and you will end up with depression or burnout. That's for sure, right? Because
Yeah.
you can't do everything. This is it. And I mean, if somebody is saying, hey, I would like to do that strategic stuff rather, I mean, come on, I spent probably 60% of my job, was like developing other people. Even like I was always traveling with somebody, and that person would shadow me, and I was changing those people. I was, having a speech writer, not from Microsoft. It was always like for 6 to 12 months, somebody from ISEC International, which is the biggest student organization. They do like student exchange. Okay.
Mm.
And those people are like, wow, this is a great experience. And if I see today, they are on some, executive after 10 years, they are on some executive, post already in some
Yeah.
good companies, right? So this is it, how you develop it. And obviously I made a lot of, mistakes, for sure. But, unless you will really like develop your organization and delegate, forget it. And it's, I mean, people are saying, oh, it's, I have too much work, whatever, right? They are blaming companies, but you should blame yourself. I'm blaming me. It's not Microsoft. I blame Jan that I was in the mental hospital and for 6 months depressed, because Microsoft never pushed me to do it. I mean, I tell you what happened to me. It was not necessarily that I would do stuff I didn't like, but I liked it so much, I did not have enough mental rest simply. And after it, because if you are all the time in the flow, it's very intensive endorphin,
Yeah.
adrenaline, obviously, and stuff like that. But then it's really like not acute stress, but it's this chronic stress, step by step, and it's
Yeah.
growing, right? And if you don't have enough, rest, it's growing, and it summed up, and it started like in my stomach. I had a problem with my back, and then I basically collapsed, right? But it has nothing to do with Microsoft. Microsoft never pushed me to do such things, right? I mean, I in fact remember my boss, Jean-Philippe Courtois, who is Microsoft president. He was always telling me, "Yeah, you should slow down. You should, have a rest also sometime," because he saw me like running in the morning and then the whole, day, whatever. And
Yeah.
that time I thought, hey, he's, French. He's probably not that very stupid, right? But it was, and then he wrote me, I must say, he wrote me a nice letter by hand when I was in the middle hospital. I never, will forget that. It is a great, leader, right? But yeah,
Yeah.
this is it. I think it's everybody should. Hey, if there is some toxic environment, some huge pressure, whatever, then let's switch the job. But if you like what you do, it is up to you how you will, allocate your, energy or
Yes.
time, yeah, right? Because we are blaming organizations. I mean, organizations are good organizations, but it's up to you to decide, hey, I'll take it or
Yes.
not. And if, yes, as Lisa said, it is about freedom. I had enough freedom in Microsoft. In fact, they Gallup tested me once, and Jim Clifton, Gallup CEO, said, "Jan, you are much more entrepreneur as opposed to the manager." And I said, "That's I mean, because my boss Jean-Philippe Courtois was entrepreneur, and he allowed me to be entrepreneur in large organization. I mean, you're right.
Yes.
You can have both, characteristics, and this is it. But it is your decision.
Yes.
It's exactly what Viktor Frankl is saying. You cannot influencing what is happening. What you can influence, it's your reaction. What is happening?
Yes. And Jan, I was just with a team. I was facilitating a team offsite today, and they were exactly talking about this. We're overwhelmed. We don't know what to do. And when we said, okay, so what are you going to do differently from Monday? How are you going to have time to do big picture? How are you going to do strategy? How are you going to prioritize? They were like, but we're so busy. We couldn't possibly change our agendas on
Right.
Monday. What are you talking about? And I said, hold on, we just spent 2 days talking about how you want to do it. But then when you have to operationalize it, and we
You
said
know,
two things.
Stephen
What?
Stephen Stephen Covey talks about like you can try to cut the tree, right? Or you can, and it's tough unless you will sharpen your saw. Sharpen your saw means, hey, don't do any shitty stuff. There's no impact. I mean, if people would realize your amygdala is telling you everything is urgent and everything is
Yes.
important, that's what the amygdala is doing. But you should do what is important but not urgent, because that's the way how to use your brain in the best way, right?
But there are so many times, Jan, that we overdo things, especially high performers. We want to be the best. We want to take it on. We want to be great. And it's like, hold on. So when I'm talking to this team, I said, I want you to follow the lazy principle. How can I get this done to good quality in the laziest way possible? And they
Yeah.
were like, oh my goodness. And we never thought about it. And at the end of the session, they were like, okay, we have all these flip charts, and no, but do we take pictures, and how do we organize and this, that? And they looked at me and they said, you know what? If we're going the lazy principle, Lisa, we're going to ask you to do it, and we're not going to get involved. We'll just assume you're going to organize and sort it. I said, I'm so glad to see you living that principle. Instead of having to jump in, instead of having to manage it, instead of having to make sure everything's done, here you go, Lisa, delegated to you. We trust you. You're good. I said, I'm so proud that you could make that small decision, because if you do that over and over, you're free. Guess what? As an executive coach, I used to I handwrite my notes, and then
Yeah.
I would type up notes for every client.
Right.
And I thought that's what you have to do. And then I just started telling clients, if you want that service, we'll do it as an add-on service. But for me, it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy and time
Sure.
sitting in front of the computer writing up notes. Who wants to do that? Nobody cared. Nobody missed it. Saves me hours a week on writing up notes. Why was I doing it? We have to question it, right? Putting myself under stress. I used to think, Jan, you probably felt the same. I had to have inbox 0 every day. I have my own business. If a client is writing me, I have to write back immediately. Guess what? I started writing back a day later, 2 days later. Nobody cares.
You know what is funny? You said that number. When I was in Microsoft, I said, okay, I'll never have more than 20, messages in my kind of the, unread or, unsolved, yeah, right?
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I'm getting much less emails, obviously, now, but it's like 80. And, I really try to reply in 24. But this is it. I mean, it's like, sometimes if you are really a high achiever, you try, hey, I need to reply immediately. And you are like switching from one thing to the other. And it costs you like 14 minutes to get on the same level of, concentration, right? Hey, like, this is you're like bombarded by the messages. And for your amygdala, everything is important, right? And it's not the case. So maybe we can talk a bit about, some tools, how to, get mental health and stay mental health.
Yeah, so quit your job, divorce.
Mhm.
No, I'm just kidding. These will not actually help your mental health, but sometimes we use these thoughts as an
Sometimes it
escape.
does, right?
Well, that's also true.
I
If
mean,
you,
it depends, yeah.
yeah, exactly. But this is the thing you need to check in with. I think for me, the very first thing, and you started this session today saying it, but I want to make it really clear: self-awareness. What do you
Exactly.
need? Most people have no idea what they need, and it's sometimes hard to know what you need. It's easier to actually stay with the inertia of doing everyday life and complaining about it than actually pausing and say, but what would I like? What would make me happy? What would give me a fulfillment? What would stop this constant anxiety I have about performance?
Right.
These are hard questions. If you can explore them, if you can start to figure out, here's what I need, then and only then can you start to ask people for it. Can you start to quit your job if you find, it's that toxic culture that, but you have to have that self-awareness. Nothing will change, nothing will come without self-awareness. So for me, that's the number one criteria. If you do nothing else, self-awareness, and in that emotional awareness, by the way, but what are my needs that will make me, when do I feel okay and good?
Mm. Yeah, if you go to the history, our predecessors, they got like connection between the mind and the body, like 100% harmony. Okay, because to be honest, they didn't think about. Well, there was a stress for sure, but that stress was like once in 2 weeks. They were like hunting one in 2 weeks, whatever, right? But today it's tougher. But like that connection, body, mind, and your breathing is very important. Okay. There is a one tool I'm using, like personally, to cool down, have a rest, and the same with my athletes or executives. It's called Yoga Nidra. It has nothing to do with yoga. Okay. I mean traditional yoga. You like lay down, and you can get it on YouTube for free, or there's application on Android or on Apple. You lay down, and basically there is like guided meditation voice, like you like breathing in, breathing out. You go like breathe in, feet, release, right? And you go through whole your body, so, and you are concentrated because of the voice. Your body is getting like release, stress, whatever, right? The breath is like cooling down your, amygdala. I feel very good. And even I use it when the people got the problem to sleep, being in the new time zone, for example, with the tennis players and so on. So we use it, and it's really good. It's called Yoga Nidra, Nidri. Okay. So yoga nidra is one. There is another one, in case you have like some fear, some uncertainty, whatever, which is used by SEAL operation, which is the toughest unit from U.S. Navy. It's called mental jingle, basically, and it combines your body, your breathing, and some mantra. Okay, where it is, what we know, that if you stay, straight and like that, your testosterone goes up after half to 1 minute by 20% up. Your cortisol, which is stress hormone, goes 25% down, and your ability to risk is 33% higher, which is like uncertainty is like lowering, so the body. Okay, now why breathing? Because if we are stressed, okay, stress is activating sympathicus, the nerve system here, and you go like, you're breathing like that, and it's basically blocking your diaphragm. Your diaphragm is muscle, and it needs to go up and down, right? It's like cooling down amygdala again, and it's like massaging your gut, right? Your digestion system. So if you are stressed, usually your this part simply is blocked, the diaphragm. Okay, when you go couple of times, breathe in, breathe out, you will move again diaphragm, and that means for your amygdala, hey, the lions and tigers are gone, there is no more danger, and you are fine. Okay, and then if you do some mantra, you can have only one thought at the same time. So what they do, they go, before they go to the action, they go like that: I make it, I make it, I make it. Okay, so it is basically the body, breath, and the mantra. Yeah, right. And
Yeah.
it's called mental jingle. They are basically cutting the fear through this, right? So that's another piece what you can do. Like, I mean, it's good for the mental toughness. But whenever you feel some fear or whatever, what we know from the brain science, basically from neuroscience, that when you are afraid and you are able to do like 3-4 steps, the level of your cortisol and adrenaline goes down by 40%, right?
Yeah.
Because the Lisa said one important thing, that your brain doesn't like new decision, new stuff, and so on. But if we are able to put some impulse, some action, hey, we are moving, for our brain, it means okay, it's less danger. I do something, okay, and I do some
Exactly.
activity. Yeah.
For me, it's so important, and we haven't talked about yet, and I love that we're talking about tools and how to practically solve
Mhm.
for this. One of the biggest mental health epidemics that we're having right now is loneliness. Again,
Yeah.
COVID-19 was not a helper for
Right.
that, but anyway, that was already on track because of social media. So for me, there are two things that are really important about loneliness. One is having connection with friends, with family, having a group. We talked a little bit about FOPO. We talked about
Right.
it last
Yeah.
time, but really that fear of other people's judgments. You need to be surrounded by friends and family who you don't feel scared of, who you feel love you sort of
Acknowledge.
unconditionally, will be there for you no matter what. You need a safety net. And you need to have people in your life who are that safety net. If you don't have that, make that a top priority. Go find people who will love you, who you connect with, who you can have fun with, who you can be with. Because when we're lonely, when we're disconnected from other
Yeah.
humans, it literally, people are dying of loneliness. So that's one aspect. The other thing that I need you to know is, even if you're not physically with anybody, you need to know that you're never alone.
Yeah.
So, first of all, this is actually what religion and spirituality do, where we always say, okay, no matter what, God's with me, whoever God looks like.
Sure.
So, for some people, that will work. If you're not particularly religious or spiritual, we can talk on another day. But one other thing that I really need people to know that you're not alone is, if you're feeling, I'm scared, I'm overwhelmed, I feel like a failure, I have imposter syndrome. I cannot tell you how many people I coach who say, I feel like someone's going to find out I'm not really that smart. And I'm like, oh, you didn't know 100% of people I've coached have imposter syndrome? And they're like, no, it's not just me. No. Whatever you are going through right now, you're depressed, you're lonely, you've been divorced, you've been dumped, you had a shit presentation, whatever you're going through right now, You are not the first. You are not the last. And at this moment in time, probably 500 people across the world are feeling exactly what you're feeling. You are a social creature. You are connected to other people. So you are never alone, even if it feels scary or lonely, whatever you're going through. Once you start to admit a little bit more about what you're feeling, how you feel like an imposter, that's when other people start to open up to you. And that's when you actually feel and realize that other people feel exactly the same way. We as coaches, we hear it all the time. It's our norm to know everyone feels like a stupid failure, like half the time. Ugh. But for most other people, they don't know that. So very important on this loneliness. Also, the research tells us that loneliness is one of the key challenges with mental health. Please get off of Instagram. Please get off of LinkedIn. Please get off of Facebook. Please get off of anything where you're comparing yourself to someone else, that external version that they've created in their branding. And then you come back and think, I'm not good enough. Look at how great they are. No, they're just like you. You're both the same. Not lonely.
Absolutely. Couple of points what Lisa said.
Yeah.
Once you will in that whatever is your group, once you will show your vulnerability, show vulnerability. A lot of people think, hey, it's I should not show my weakness. No, it's not true. If you show the vulnerability, that means you open for the other people, and they will open for you, and you will feel, hey, we are all in the same game for sure. That's number one. Number two, by definition, everybody, everybody who is like mentally, healthy, okay. If you are like crazy, then maybe you like overestimate yourself. But everybody who is mentally healthy thinks that he or she is less than he is or she is, because your amygdala is trying to figure out what are your like weaknesses and not showing you that much, your strengths, where you are really able to make some breakthrough, right? This is it, right? So you are really more than you think you are. Everybody is more than he or she thinks, right? One interesting tool which I started to use, especially with my athletes now, right? If they do something well, they should not say, hey, it's good, but they should say it's excellent. I'm great, right? So you should basically, what you should do, because I tell you, it's not like bullshitting your brain, but your brain works like 5 to 10 times faster. Is your negative part of the brain, amygdala, and your logical part of the brain is quite slow. That's why you need to help your logical part of the brain. So you should exaggerate what is good with you. Like exaggerate, hey, it's not good, it's great, or it's excellent. Example. Selfie. Anyway, no, it's not. It works like that. And now listen. If there is some negative or you make some mistake, let's don't make any negative comments, but make neutral comments like, hey, that's a learning. I need to do it better next time, but it's a good learning. And that's the way how you will switch from that fixed mindset, hey, I screwed it up, or you have an imposter syndrome, which is kind of you have everything or you have nothing, right? If you have a fixed mindset, you go to the growth mindset, like I'm like actually better version of me every day. Even though I made some mistakes today, I'm still learning from those mistakes, and I'm moving on. That's exactly, I just was coaching some of the best football players from this country, and he was not having a good last match, right? Let's put it this way. And I said, come on, right? You had like 2 seasons. He played all matches. You got 2 seasons, excellent. There was one match. Okay, that match was not good. So let's look at it from the like helicopter, right? Everybody's making some mistake. Learn from those mistakes and move on, right? So
That's it. And there's a really great tool, Jan. You said we were talking about how do we get specific. A lot of folks who come to me who say, I have this perfectionist mindset, I have imposter syndrome, or I have the amygdala running the show too
Yeah,
much and I don't know how to change it. We give a few tips. Here's a breathing. You can always bring yourself back to the present by just touching your two fingers together. But
yeah,
actually, my company, we put people through a program called Positive Intelligence. So there's a website. I don't own the material. It was by a Stanford professor who
yeah,
created it, and positiveintelligence.com. And you could go and take an assessment and just figure out, what is the saboteur voice in my head? Now, the saboteur voice is the voice in French is trying to sabotage you. It's trying to tell you, oh, this is the monkey. You're not good enough. Here's why you're not good enough. Here's what you're going to mess up. Here's what. And once you can start to have the self-awareness, so the assessment's for free. Once you have the self-awareness, what is that voice in my head that's always bringing me down, right? It's standing in the way of me accepting and giving myself these compliments. That self-awareness may already be enough to help you to say, hold on, when I notice that that's coming, that perfectionist is coming, I now have my space to choose. And there's a whole 6-week program that you can do if you want to really sort of go deep. But again, we want to talk about, Know Your Dragons is also a good one.
yeah, yeah. There is a one like free of charge test from Daniel Amen. He's a famous psychiatrist in United States. He got like 40 scans of human brains, and basically when he tries to examine people, he talks to them, and he looks also to the those scans. Okay, and he created some special tests. It's called Know Your Dragons, and that test will show you, because everybody is influenced by some bad programs from our childhood, right? I mean,
Yes,
sometimes people would not have it, but majority of the people would have some of those.
everyone has it.
There's like 13 different programs you can have in your brain, and that test will reveal for you what are those programs, because very often we are influenced, because you know what, we are absolutely like, you think, hey, I'm screwed personality, I'm great personality because of me. It's all bullshit. Your personality was created by your parents, by the school, whatever. It can
Yeah.
be changed partially because of the neuroplasticity, right? But your talents, because of those are genes, they are there. But this will help you to really understand more if there are some dragons and how to work on those. Okay, tell you what, I did that test, and I'm too responsible. Okay, what does it mean? If you are too responsible, you really have like you try to overdo the things, you try to overanalyze, over control, and that was the reason I went to the mental hospital, basically, right? Because I wanted to have control and do all the stuff and everything. But yeah,
I just want to check in for anyone who's watching live. If you want to share any comments or ask
the
any
questions
questions,
or whatever. Yeah,
we always love to have it interactive. We
absolutely.
have these last
Yeah,
few minutes. I can't reiterate enough. So many people now have been telling me in secret, I'm going to a therapist. And I'm like, great, scream it from the
yeah,
mountaintops.
yeah.
I don't know why we all think if you broke your leg, you wouldn't be like, oh, I'll just heal it at home, right?
Exactly,
I'll
exactly.
just, bandage it up. No, you'd be like, oh, I'm not a medical doctor. I don't know how to set a cast. I have to go get it checked. And, someone has to do an x-ray. Someone needs to, you would get help. Same for mental health. There should be
I agree.
no stigma. Go and get the therapy. If you need medication to get you through a certain time, if you and your doctor say that could be a path. I know so many people who are very judgmental. Oh, you need to go on medication. If you need it, please go for it. Medication
Yeah,
can only help if you and your doctor decide it's right for you. I mean,
yeah,
but I want people to stop putting limits on themselves about what kind of support and help they can get on mental health. That's not
yeah,
for me. That's for people who have a real illness. I don't want to be someone who has a real illness, so I'm going to avoid it. Get the help you need. It's okay. Lots
exactly.
and lots of people are in therapy. Lots
Look,
and lots of people are
yeah.
on medications.
Look, I was stupid enough. I spent like 3 months at home, right? And then the depression was getting worse and worse, and I almost died after, that. I was 3 months at home, 3 months in the mental hospital, right? So, I mean, try to prevent, try to have a good rest, whatever we talk about. But if you have like 2 3 weeks problem with your sleeping, you have a lot of negative thoughts, visit therapist or psychiatrist. This is it,
Yeah.
and they'll help you. I was on antidepressants for 4 years. I finished like 6 years ago already. I didn't. I'm like, I don't have anything, because people thought, hey, if you are on antidepressants, it needs to be for the whole life. It's all bullshit. It's very individual. And
Yeah.
I really started to do like meditation, yoga, tai chi. Mika is saying about Wim Hof. I do Wim Hof, which is like the breathing and cold water. Right? But if you have a problem, try to get help, like professional help, because you will not, especially with like depression and burnout, you will not be able to help yourself. I mean, I see people who are like burnout for 2 years, and it's
Yeah.
going like up and down. They don't want to go to the doctor, and it's getting better at some point, but then it's getting worse. And it is like, I think the mental health, because of the pressure, it's
Yes.
everywhere. It will be more and more important. That's why we need to be very open about that. Discuss it, what can happen, and how what we should do. But it should be really like, hey, if you broke your leg, if your leg is broken, you just visit doctor, and
Yeah.
this is it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, for me, whenever I'm in a place, so of course, I'm like you all, there are moments when I have severe anxiety,
No.
right? I want to perform or I'm going to go do something big. I happen to be a very growth mindset person. So I'm constantly in places where I'm like, what the am I doing here? I don't belong here. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do this. I'm constantly putting myself through anxiety moments. And I have then the crashes, the subsequent crashes of I did something amazing and it's sort of over. So I also ride these waves. And the thing that helps me to get through that all, besides the connection, besides the physical rest and breathing and all that stuff, I just always reconnect to hope. Because I feel like when there's depression, when there's anxiety, when you feel stuck, when you feel trapped, when you feel like there's nothing I can do, this is going to be hard forever, that's when I feel like, ooh, at my worst. When I say this is hard now, very hard now, feels impossible now, and there will be a time when it gets back. I have the hope, I have the faith, I have the trust that we can always get it somewhere back good. Then that is this thing that helps me to feel calm and reset, that I
Yeah.
can ride the wave. But it's the
And
hope.
yeah, this is definitely a very strong recommendation. And the other one, if you guys will, what helped me from, like, I'm still maximizer. I still want, my athletes to win, the executives to be successful, because it's less about me, it's more about them. If you coach people, right? But what helped me, I really moved from that fixed mindset to the growth mindset, like every day, move on. I mean, 6 years ago, when I started to coach athletes, people are telling me, you are crazy. It's absolutely different discipline. You will never succeed. Today, I'm like mental coach of the Czech Olympic top team. I coach Patrick Schick, who is one of the best players in Bundesliga. Jiří Lehecka, my tennis player, he moved in 2 years during the COVID from 650. He's 79. He's gonna to train with Nadal this Sunday. They will train,
Amazing.
right. So no, this Sunday, next Sunday, before the French Open will start. But anyway, and I know, look, we move in this particular case from 650 to 79, and I didn't know how to do it, but you learn as you go. Now I don't know how to move. I don't know yet how to move him from 79 to the top 10, but I know it's gonna to happen.
Inshallah.
I know
Yeah.
we will learn as we go, right? And if we will have all this growth mindset, we will get there, because he's talented, he works hard, whatever. We just need to, help him, and step by step to move there, right?
Exactly. Have the hope, have the faith, be the creator, find your autonomy, work with the body. And when you need help, ask for it. Tell people you need it. Be okay with being vulnerable. You're never alone. Get the support you need. Prioritize your mental health.
So this was called be okay. It's okay not to be okay. So I will finish by saying it is okay to tell other people that you are not okay. Okay, this is basically paraphrasing what Lisa said. So guys, thank you very much. It was great to be here with you, and we are looking forward. Unfortunately, I didn't tell you, Lisa. 2 weeks
Surprise!
from now, I'm on the vacation, so we need to that week, afterwards, right? We will do it.
Okay, we'll find our way and we'll
Yeah,
put
yes,
everything on
no,
LinkedIn and YouTube for you all.
absolutely,
But
absolutely,
May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Be aware, support those around you.
exactly, exactly.
All right.
And if you can, share this video, that would be great. And you can also like subscribe the on the YouTube, on LinkedIn, and maybe invite your friends. Thank you very much,
Yes.
guys. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.